Notable Live is your fast track to one-of-a-kind experiences with your favorite athletes, like race day with Emmett Smith and Jesse Awuji, game day with Eddie George, or fishing with Ray Lewis.
And we got a party going on over here.
So, rev up your fan experience with Notable Live, your direct connection to the athletes you love and the memories and memorabilia you crave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Check out our latest events and auctions at notable.live.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. Yeah, we can be 100 men like scores, 100 kids just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, them seeds to win the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in the man. The throne is my take, and then a high five got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know put a fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again. When I asked them who is the best, they get this to stuttering. Tell them I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. I can't lose, I won't lose. I can't lose, I won't lose. You may wanna set yourself. I think it's best you run away. I won't let you finish. Make it to the top with the same ones I came with. I shoot my shot, you better know that I'ma never miss. When they coming for me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. I'ma keep. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. That's right.
Sim racers, welcome to the eRacing Association, where you have the chance to win $5,000 in one of the best tournaments in all of sim racing. Green flag in the air.
Are you ready to reach the next level of sim racing? The eRacing Association's epic Omega Cup Series lets you win big. Racing with ERA lets you compete for huge cash prizes, get exclusive merch, exclusive sim hardware pricing, and potentially turn your virtual dreams into reality. Feel the rush as you race door to door against sim racers just like yourself, all from the comfort of your own home.
Straight away, they're into the, oh, they're wrecking.
Join now to get your membership and experience all of the excitement that the eRacing Association has to offer at www.eragaming.gg.
Celebration, he hangs on. Live from iRacing's virtual Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to RaceBot TV's coverage of the eRacing Association Omega Cup Winter Bowl. Well, we're here once again to put a bookend on another season of racing, and here tonight we do it in Bakersfield, California. Happy that you're joining us in the RaceBot TV booth. Our producer downstairs is Hugo Luis. My name's Evan Pasoko, joined alongside by Justin Prince and JP. It's been a while, I think, since we've had a true unique short track challenge like this, and I know we've been to places like Phoenix, like Iowa, the short tracks of the NASCAR Cup Series likes, but I'd have to go back to Irwindale 2022 since we were at a real true local track, and this Kern Raceway happens to be one of the newer short tracks on the iRacing service.
And tonight it should bring a big challenge for these competitors because it's, for some people, it's been compared to Iowa by some in the session for tonight's race. It's also the type of racetrack where it's not quite as simple as just dive bombing to the corner. Multiple different drivers I expect to try and play around with the lanes tonight, whether it's trying to wrap the bottom or it's in especially 3 and 4 trying the higher lines. A lot of experimentation potentially tonight here at Kern Raceway just to see what's going to stick, what's going to work around this racetrack here in Bakersfield. It should be a fun night.
If we take a look high above this racetrack that opened back in 2013, this racetrack has been open, running continuously since then. It was known as the Kern County Raceway Park through 2022. Of course, now Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. This racetrack is a paved half-mile oval, 8 degrees of banking on the straightaways and variable banking in the corners of 12 and 14 degrees. You can see there on the outside of 3 and 4 of the asphalt track that we're running tonight, they've also got a 1/3 mile clay oval that's been in effect since 2015. But we are racing under the lights and on the pavement here tonight, and drivers who are hoping to qualify for this main event, we've still got knockout queue to go as we take a live look in at the last couple of minutes of practice. Justin, this qualifying effort started a couple of days ago. We say that for all of these Omega Cup events, but you had to compete in events 2 days ago just to get to tonight, and then it looks like I'm seeing 42 drivers who are going to participate in a qualifying session that's only going to put 40 of them into the main show.
And that provides extra pressure to make sure you can make it to the show. Right now, talking about how things have gone in the session, the split between the top 30 in practice times, just 0.3 of a second. That's how much track position is going to be in terms of the margins tonight. And these drivers getting everything out of their system as well with some of the crashes you can see. But at the same time, it's just that tight on how much these drivers have been able to learn this racetrack and get it dialed on down, where if you make any little mistake, any little bobble in your qualifying laps, you may be sitting on the sidelines, or better yet, you might be starting way in the back, and it's going to be difficult to make it from front to back, or back to front, should say, in a field like this.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big field and not that long of a race, admittedly, right? We're going to go through knockout qualifying, we'll have a warm-up, and then when we go racing, you're looking at a 100-lap feature. That's pretty standard for your Saturday night short track at your local track, but not all of those have got 40 next-gen NASCAR Cup Series cars on the racetrack, right? So that element of survival going to be key, and that one quick repair, right? That basically free ticket to come down if the car's damaged, get a brand new car, not have to wait for it to get fixed, going to come into effect, I think, for many drivers. But to your point, I think if you're down on pit road getting a quick fix, it's going to be awfully difficult to get yourself even back in that conversation if you want to be fighting for the race win. Of course, we talk about what is on the line in these races. It is big money, just like always. A $5,000 purse on the line. Only the full-time ERA members are eligible to take away that prize money, but as always, that $4,000 check for the race winner going to be awfully enticing for these drivers.
Extremely enticing, to say the very least. And it's not just about making sure you can etch your name into history. This is an event where you want to be able to win and want to say you're one of the best in the history of the platform, and better yet, in the history of the ERA. But the money's definitely a good incentive, to say the very least, in terms of trying to be able to win a big jump from first to second.
Sean Conklin was the last driver to take home that $4,000 check. That was in the Fall Bowl at Texas back in the month of October. And as always, we're happy to do it again. This Winter Bowl has kind of been the staple in recent years for some of the short tracks, to be Phoenix most recently. A while ago, it was the likes of Irwindale and others. So it'll be fun to see as we are now live in qualifying. There is just about 2 minutes left on the board. You see it there. Obviously, the better qualifying position you get, the better your night's going to be, because with the big names in this field, qualifying starting up front going to be important for all those reasons we talked about. But again, it is even more critical because you get 2 laps, Justin, that count towards your qualifying effort. I do not want to push it on lap 1, given the fact that we're talking about knockout Q. I think you got to get the first lap in the bank to not be 41 and 42 on the speed charts, and then look to improve. As I mentioned, Sean Conklin, our last Omega Cup winner, he's currently P1.
Well, it's a balance between what drivers prefer, right? In a lot of cases, a lot of the top times, like Sean Conklin, like Garrett Maines and company, those are coming off some of their top first laps right now with what they've been able to do. It's just that type of racetrack where if you put too much heat into the tires, you're going to lose time, and it's going to make the car not stick as well. But for a lot of these drivers, it's making sure you just time up that window right, like Colin Keister just did. That was a second lap flyer, and if you time it up just right on what you preserve for the first half of the lap to push for the second half of lap 1, you could do what Keister just did and go to the top of the board.
And interesting, to your point, his second lap was the best of his qualifying effort. That's a trend. Zach Novak, who's currently P2 on the speed chart, 0.6 of a second faster on lap number 2 than he was on lap number 1. You see the flash of green. That was Malik Gray jumping up to 3rd. Only a handful of drivers still on track. Jonathan Smith out there. Parker Retzlaff going to be a name to look. He's out on the racetrack right now as he jumps to P5 on the board, and that'll be his second flyer. So that's going to be it for him. All those big names in. Looking like right now 40 drivers to put a time down. Nothing from George or Doucette. They may just be the 2 drivers going home as that clock strikes 0 and the 3 minute I should say qualifying session draws to a close just like that. So up front, we'll go through the full grid when we get actually down to race time, but a Keister Novak front row, at least, Justin, I don't think gonna shock anybody. Those are some big names. We always say it every time we have an ERA event here on RaceSpot TV, the fact that yes, these events are great because it levels the playing field. Anybody can come out and participate in one of these races and go head to head with some of the very best on the sim, but if you want to go head to head with those very best, you still got to beat them straight up. And that experience, I think, really shined through in that quali effort.
I think so, absolutely, with especially the fact that your top 3, I think we'll talk about in depth throughout the night, Drivers with eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series experience, Keister, Novak, and Ray, they are going to be blistering quick throughout this entire race. You throw in Retzlaff in the mix, Conklin, of course, up there as well. The who's who when it comes to this type of car, whether at the pro level or in officials in terms of the top split races, are here tonight and are you're going to likely be your contenders, whether that be Garza, whether that be Austin Edwards with good short track experience as well you can throw in. This field is stacked up front. Now, I will say, for those towards the bottom of the field that did not get the times down, like Aaron Smith II, we've seen a lot of, for example, like Paul Bergoli, we've seen good runs from in the past in the sim in this car. Those drivers going to have a lot to try and find on strategy if they want to find their way up to the front here tonight. The one shock, though, I think is amongst the DNQs I think we'll talk about in a bit is you have drivers that didn't get the chance to even put a lap down in 3 minutes.
Yeah, 40 drivers put down times, 40 drivers are in. It would have been George and Doucette who did not put down lap times at all. And just looking at some of the numbers there, either did not get an attempt to qualify or for whatever reason had qualifying attempts disqualified. If you get into the wall or something like that, that's going to take your lap time away. It has to be a clean lap in the sim. That may have happened for Devin George. I'm surprised. I don't see Ryan Doucette on the track at all. That car was about 25th or so in practice speed. Again, not the best indicator of what somebody can and can't do on a hot lap, but it is interesting because Doucette, obviously a pretty big name. And you talk about a Colin Keister who's done a bunch of things here on the service. I'm just looking at the list of prior winners. Colin Keister has not won an ERA Omega Cup event. He would love to get the job done, and I like that you pointed out the experience for a lot of those big names. It's not just the general experience that they have on the sim, which is super valuable because so many of them drive in multiple disciplines, different kind of cars, different kind of tracks, but these cars specifically, the NASCAR Next Gen cars, obviously what those drivers of that Coke level talent will excel in the most.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun night to see the top talent rise to the top, I think, here at Kern.
We'll put that qualifying session rounded out, just waiting on the warm-up session to get through, and then we'll actually dive into things here. We can talk about kind of what's happened so far, though, in this 2024 season with the CRA Omega Cup, right? I mentioned, and I kind of teased it a little bit ago, the fact that Sean Conklin's looking to go back-to-back and take home another win. We saw the likes of Malik Ray win in the Summer Bowl. That was back at the Iowa Speedway, so a bit of a sample size there maybe for what some of the drivers can do on a short track. Malik obviously competing here tonight as well, and then Cody Nagels won it in Daytona back with a season opener.
Yeah, a lot of talent has gone to the front, especially Nagels on the super speedway side, but I'm curious to see if Conklin could go back to back. He is a strong candidate to do so with what he's able to do in the track.
We're excited to see how it all plays out, and as we get closer to getting tonight's action underway, I think we're going to get things started by headed down trackside and getting opening ceremonies off and away, and it starts with the performance of our national anthem performed by Emenderlin Awuji.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and
Well, big thank you to Menderlin for getting things underway for us here. And now that final warm-up session as drivers are allowed back to their cars. This is not yet race session time. A final 5-minute warm-up, maybe shake out some of the nerves, and then get ready to go because there is big money on the line. Tens of thousands of dollars have been given out over the course of this ERA Omega Cup, and it has brought the biggest talent in the iRacing service out to play. There is one of them. We've talked about Colin Keister. He will start tonight from pole position. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver's got a lot of experience in NASCAR Cup Series cars. Can he do it here under the lights in Bakersfield, California tonight? We'll also be going on board with many of your other drivers over the course of the race. We'll be getting some unique perspectives. There's one, Garrett Maines, I always say he's got the best view in sim racing. With the camera mounted on the helmet, really gives you a really good perspective of what it's like to drive in the sim. And I don't know if he spun the car out in front of him or just the car getting loose in front, but those are going to be some of the tricky challenges that are going to be happening around here. But that view for Garrett Maines, and we see it across all the different disciplines that he drives in here on the service, is by far and large, I think, the coolest shot that we get. Logan Clampett, somebody else who is no stranger to not only competing in some of the biggest events on the iRacing service, but how about somebody who has had opportunities to compete and fight for wins here in this Omega Cup. Clamp's somebody who anytime he is in the field, you have to look for him to be a contender. Shocking that his name is not on the list of prior race winners, but can the California kid get the job done here in his hometown state? Aaron Smith II giving you a perspective that's a little bit different when it comes to those onboard cameras. He's rocking the VR goggles. We've seen a lot of drivers really on the dirt side of things on the iRacing service lean towards going for the VR. You don't see a ton of it in the pro oval community, but that PT Autosport with Amped Up Esports Chevrolet driver has got the VR goggles on. It's going to give him a real immersive experience because when he pops them on, he can look around, and that'll be reflected in sim. JD Larson's ready to go. He's got the fire suit on, the racing gloves, and he's got his headset on also. Interesting, the sunglasses inside. I don't know if it's a blue light filter sunglasses or if they just add cool points and horsepower. But that's a good look there for Larson. He is ready to go. And we'll see those kind of unique characteristics all race long, right? Do you like gloves? Do you don't like gloves? Do you go for racing shoes? Do you go for socks? Do you go barefoot? We see all kinds of different ones. And while most cars are on track, hitting the pavement, trying to work out some jitters, Brian LaPrade is ready to go. The Jeter Motorsports driver in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series is not going to find anything in these last 2-3 minutes. I think he's comfortable and confident in the speed that he is bringing into this event, and is simply just going to wait out the final 90 seconds of this session. Cody Harris, a name we've seen a lot here on Race Spot TV in the past. Almost won an RSR championship as we followed him through that campaign this past year. He's somebody else who has competed on the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder, and he is hoping to add to that hardware collection that he's got in the background there. Could he get his first race win in the ERA Omega Cup? He's going to have a really good opportunity to do so tonight. However, is going to have a little bit of work to do. He is starting top 10, but not right on the front row. And what a story it would be if Matt Busa could win at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway as he drives for the Kevin Harvick Inc. machine. A treetop colors on that car, of course, a sponsor we see with him in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. But he's obviously got a real close personal relationship with Kevin and helping coach Kevin's son Keelan on the iRacing service and even in some of Keelan's real-life racing escapades. So I think it'd be a pretty cool moment if Matt Busa could get the race win at the boss's home track here tonight in Bakersfield. Again, so many big names. How about Parker Retzlaff? He has had a big year and a half, basically, not only on the sim, where we have expected him to be good, and he continues to be good, but how about in the real world as well? He just recently announced that he would be competing full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2025 for Alpha Prime Racing. Could he go to victory lane here tonight? He was the first ever Omega Cup race winner. That was way back on December 16th of 2020. He's looking to go back to victory lane for the first time since then. Well, the cars are ready to get things underway, so to kick off tonight's race officially, we hand things over to tonight's Grand Marshal. It is none other than the Pro Football and College Football Hall of Famer, Willie Roaf.
Hi, this is Willie Roaf, NFL Hall of Famer. It's go time. Drivers, start your engine.
Well, let's take a look at your starting grid, and we announced it as it happened live. Colin Keister will start from pole position tonight, and he will be joined by Zach Novak in P2. Malik Ray starts third, Sean Conklin fourth, Parker Retzlaff fifth, and Garrett Maines P6. It is an absolutely stacked top three rows, and it doesn't get any easier. Adam Garza seventh tonight, Brian LaPratt in eighth. They'll make up row four with Cody Harris starting in P9 and Hayden Swank in 10th. Austin Edwards, a short track ace on the service, starts 11th. He's next to another Coke Series driver. That's the 37 Kwame Scott in 12th. Jacob Schneider gets the lucky number 13 starting spot tonight. He'll be joined by the California Kid and Logan DeClampett starting 14th. Alex Coffey and Evgeny Mozganov will make up 15th and 16th position. That's row number 8. Corey Moore starting 17th tonight. Matt Busa going to have a little bit of work to do if he's going to win it at the Boss's track tonight as he starts at 18th. Garrett Conrath 19th. Joseph Galata 20th. That takes us halfway home. Jacob Smetana and Michael Guest along with Chris Wetz and Alex Jones through your top 24 starters. 25th on the grid is Michael Hensley with Andrew Henniger in 26th. Matt Johnson 27th. Cole Larson 28th. Paul Bergoli 29th, and Jonathan Smith will make up your top 30. That's through row 15. Jake Balmain 31st. Aaron Mack 32nd. Jason Schilling 33rd, Kyle Vallejo 34th, with Zach Miller 35th, Julian Ritchie in the number 36 starting spot. In the final two rows, Cameron McCone, JD Larson, Aaron Smith II, and Trevin Aswarnoth are the starting grid for this race. The DNQs will go to Devin George and Ryan Doucette. So the stage is set for a 100 lap and 50-mile dash here at Bakersfield, and it is a pretty warm, I'd say, afternoon. Temperature's pretty good here under the lights. Track temp, nothing too crazy. Think there's going to be a decent amount of grip in the racetrack, and these drivers should be putting on a great show. Remember, they do have a quick repair available, one per car, that hopefully they don't have to use in this race, but we'll keep an eye on that, because if attrition becomes a storyline, you're going to be looking for cars who qualified well to use that track position to their advantage off of the bat. $5,000 on the line across your top finishers, but everybody's looking for the $4,000 ERA check. Only the victor will take home the big prize. As always, we're happy that you're joining us for an ERA night here on Race Spot TV. Pace car down and in. Colin Keister in control of the field. Let's go racing in Bakersfield. Like a good opening lap of the race. Colin Keister leads from pole, but to the inside, here comes Malik Ray. Keister was clear for a moment. It was at this end of the racetrack on lap number 1 that Malik Ray was able to pull even, and now he'll use this lap to pull ahead. Give it to the 7 at the start-finish line, but will Malik Ray get clear? Keister on the outside falls back 3 wide, nearly a spin for the 5. Zach Novak got loose. Now now there's trouble back in traffic. One car on the apron. No caution. It was Hayden Swank. The 35 gets the ship righted. That racetrack going to be clear before the leaders come through, so we will stay green. And now more trouble amongst the leaders. Retzlaff spinning down the backstretch. You just saw it out of the corner of the screen on board. When we went with Novak, there's Retzlaff. The 31 car also able to straighten it out and keep things going. But those are two drivers. Single car spins early in this race, but a caution comes from neither of them, and the loss of Retzlaff is a huge one. Let's go on board. It's Zach Novak. Feel how towering these corners are when you go on board with somebody like a Zach, and you can see down at this end of the racetrack, he's running that white line all the way through turns 1 and 2. Those three cars are in front of him doing something different. They kind of entered a little bit later, kind of cut down, but they didn't get all the way down to the white line. So, while yes, they are running low, you're not going to see anybody up by that lighter part of the racetrack where none of the rubber is. But even within that kind of lane and a half to 2 lanes on the bottom that everybody's going to want to use, everybody is running different lanes. And now Novak getting to the inside of the one of mains, wants to make this a fight for P2 or P3, I should say. That car just got a little bit too tight on the exit. And I think that's going to be the kind of hutch here for the 5 and Novak is, I think he's got a faster race car right now, but he cannot unwind that car off the corner if you're pinched on the bottom. And you can even see that one machine just struggling a touch there for Garrett Maines in that red and white Ryko machine. If he's struggling, it's only going to hold up Novak, and Sean Conklin's got a view at both of them. It was Maines who passed both Novak and Conklin in the opening laps of this race. So Sean down a spot from where he started in 4th to now where he runs in P5. He's got a great view of all the different lanes that these leaders are working through. And again, already 10 laps into the race. So this thing's going to fly by if we can keep these laps green. The benefit of having a live race control where admins will decide when and when not to throw the caution for an incident is what allowed us to see those 2 single car spins, but to not have this race go under caution to fly conditions. Race control saw that the racetrack was going to be clear, and they allowed things to continue. So that's how, Justin, we've been able to be clean and green. Clean maybe with some air quotes through the opening couple laps. Only a few small challenges, but great action up front as Malik Ray leads the way.
And I was about to say, one of the things that popped up in final practice I noticed was people over-rotating off corner exit, like we've seen in a couple cases already, that have caused some of those single spins, so to speak, off turn 2, especially in the mid-pack. But right now, you can tell with Garrett Maines on this on-port view just how much you need to be careful on the throttle and how much carefulness you have to put into the steering inputs. Because the bumps are going to jitter you around a little bit, but that throttle, you have to treat like you have an egg underneath it. You hit it too hard, you're going to spin around.
And that edge has been kind of a very clearly defined line, has been what everybody said about these next-gen cars. Maybe with the Gen 6 cars, you could get to that line of the proverbial kind of out-of-control line and push it, slide it a little bit. These things, they're either planted or if you overstep it, they snap. And that's why, to your point, you got to be really careful as you tread that balance. Into the inside of the 7 goes the 42. Colin Keister wants to go back to the lead of this race after he led only lap number 1 before Malik Ray was able to pass him on the bottom. He gets a little bit sideways there. Let's go 3 wide down the back straightaway.
I mean, why not? I talked about the bobbles, right? Over rotation through the apex off, and that's what Colin Keister just had. That cost him right there. But Malik Ray, he's getting bounced around with these drivers leaning on each other, almost trying to bump and run him out of the way. Novak is sending it, just shipping it into the corners, trying to peel him off the bottom.
He has been stuck down there on the inside, but he has been a trooper. Continues to try to make it work, and now the 7 tried to come down in front of the 5, took another shot from Novak. So Malik Ray, I don't know if he pushed things a little bit too hard, is a step behind now, but He is getting absolutely beat up by the 5 and the 1, but so far they have not found a way through. Back on board with Conklin. He gets P4 back as Keister falls all the way down to the number 5 spot. He has a decision to make right now. Does he go high and follow Garrett Maines through? Does he go low and follow Zach Novak through? Right now, he picks the role of Switzerland. He has done neither, stays behind both of them, and as Maines is clear for second, Novak tucks in line for the moment, goes right back down to the inside. This is what Malik Ray would like to see. If they're fighting for P2, they're not taking time out of the 7 cars lead.
And Ray's just playing the lines at this point as well, just because of what he's able to do as the race leader. He has that luxury to be able to play the lines, play the bottom. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's go back up top side. Okay, let's hold on to the top side. That's where the momentum is. Okay, here's the run. Slam the door once again. It's a balancing act for Malik Ray, but that's the beauty of being the race leader. You get to play that line game, and as said at the top of the broadcast, multiple grooves were expected, and we're seeing that right now with the fact they've been able to drive side by side for near 10 laps straight in this battle for second.
And look at the 1 car. Do we go 3 wide? That's not going to work. Trying to go to the middle was Garrett Maines. He gets turned. He'll get hit onto turn number 1. That was Kwame Scott who got into him, and that will bring out caution flag number 1 of the race after Garrett Maines saw an opening, tried to go to the middle, but I don't think either of the cars that he was trying to split got the memo, and he quickly ran out of room in that Ryco Toyota. We'll wait for a second look, but Garrett Maines never been somebody, Justin, to shy away from aggressive moves, and he certainly tried to catch those 2 in front of him sleeping.
Tunnel vision, almost like seeing the hole open up, try to jump through the open hole. The problem is Novak already exiting off the corner, started pushing up, pushed into where Maines was at. That bounced him off of Ray, and unfortunately, his teammate at Conklin, they're right in the right position to turn around Maines. Maines getting hit right on the axle too. That's a meatball flag, and that's going to cost him position. He needs to get the mandatory repairs done.
Bit of a split decision onto pit road. You see some of the drivers involved in the accident down pit road, but they're not the only ones. Malik Ray, Conklin down pit road, but also the likes of Guest and others. So I would say about a third of the field, maybe even half the field down pit road, and it was a pretty diverse mix of top 10 cars, midfield cars, back markers down pit road. It means the top 17 drivers are going to stay out, and the first car off of pit road, Malik Ray, will restart this race in 18th. Now Garrett Maines, Corey Moore, looks like Smetana, Swank, Ballman, a couple of drivers actually coming down pit road the second time around. That will bump some of the cars who just pitted up the running order a little bit. So it looks like it'll leave us with the top 12 drivers, those who did not pit, and really curious to see what a 25-lap green flag run's going to do on tires, Justin, and if those cars who came down pit road can do anything about it now that they're back in traffic.
Yeah, that's going to be a true test right now. I think we've already seen how difficult it is to pass. It's a lot of side-by-side opportunities on this racetrack right now. Now the problem's going to be, it's almost going to be, is this going to be a caution-precaution type scenario that builds up here, because you have the differences on tire wear, and you have the differences potentially on speed by a couple tenths a lap that might pop up here. We might see drivers use a lot of bumpers and lead to a lot of contact.
There's a look at Aaron back in 35th. Some of the drivers blending off of the pit lane, trying to find their spot in line. Again, it's only a half-mile track, so these cars going to have to get lined up pretty quick. Pace car already off it in, down in turns 3 to 4. What can Zach Novak do as the control car? It is a mammoth restart for the 5. Green flag back in the air.
Great restart. In fact, some trouble in the heart of the field with some people sliding back there. In fact, they're spinning back there. It looks like Hensley and a couple others the wrong way around, and that was the fear. Drivers with the different tires, and you never know what's going to happen right around that hornet's nest.
I saw Clampett was one of the drivers around. That may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. I know that 15 machine of Shane Hensley was all kinds of out of shape, and thought maybe we're going to get away with it, and then Clampett got tagged in the 44, and that was basically a track blocker off of turn number 2. I mentioned that the benefit of live race control is we have the discretion on throwing yellows or not. You kind of have to throw one for an incident that is that big. Michael Guest got a piece of it. So did the number 19 machine of Jacob Smetana. And somebody who was very lucky in that one was Parker Retzlaff, who went right through the gap in that Funkaway machine. He was able to sneak right on by and survive. I also don't think the damage on some of the cars involved in that one was all that bad, Justin. That puts you in a bit of an interesting spot, too, if you're involved in an incident this early, right? If it's real bad damage, you talk about the meatball flag, some of the drivers who got hit on some critical parts of the race car in the wreck part of this, yeah, you got to come in, get it fixed. No question, use your quick repair. If you've only got some minor damage, you may actually opt to not burn that quick repair at this point in the race. Sit on the pit box, try to get some of it fixed, drive out there with a race car that's not 100%, knowing that if you're involved in another accident, you still have that quick fix. Obviously, if you use the quick repair right away, that safety net is gone, and we're only a third of the way through.
Yeah, you don't want to burn the safety net this early because there's so many chances for incidents. But I will say this as we take a look at some of the drivers here. You have a lot of opportunities for drivers from, say, Army Esports. That's the esports program for the U.S. Army. This is Sergeant Zach Miller from Asheville, Ohio, an infantry and medical logistics specialist. 8 years in the service, one of 2 drivers, in fact, for Army Esports in the field tonight. The other is Aaron Mack, a staff sergeant from Minnesota with 15 years of service. And I think, as many will say, lots of opportunities when it comes to the military to be able to try and branch out into different opportunities and race in now esports in particular as an outlet.
We've been seeing a lot of that here on the service as well, and we appreciate him for what he's done and happy to have him in the field here tonight. This will be exactly at 1/3 distance through this 100-lap feature race. Novak again, control car. Restart not as good as last time, though. Keister figured it out, had a good launch alongside. It'll be Novak clear off of turn number 2. How did they do in the midfield off of the corner?
Oh, some hard contact back there for a couple drivers. The rest of the field still green. Now that caution flag coming out, and a lot of drivers stopped to the back straight away. I will say, cautious precautions, and I think this is partly with the fresh tires versus old. Some of these drivers are just able to gain 2 to 3 corner lengths on entry from what I've already seen in the heart of this field on the fresher tires.
That one was right in the teens. Austin Edwards, I mentioned, has been a big name on the short track scene here on the service for a while. He was involved in that one. Looks like Edwards and Joseph Galata, the 98. So no lack of experience. Let's watch what happens in the center of the corner. There's the touch on the bottom. It looked like the 98 was up on the high lane and then kind of transitioned to the middle and the center of the corner. And again, the problem with that late decision is that I think it was Paul Bergoli on the bottom was kind of washing up a little bit, not anticipating a car to show up in the middle there. So Bergoli definitely hits him and loosens it up, Justin. But I think, again, the key is when you make that move like Maines did, off of 4 to go 3 wide, or if you make a move to go 3 wide in the center of the corner, these cars have kind of already committed to their lines at that point. And if you happen to go where someone was planning on running, it's a lot easier said than done for them to just simply avoid you.
Exactly. It's the type of racetrack where the dotted line say itself, it's hard to run side by side here for so many laps and make it stick exactly to the exact line, I should say. We've seen the side by side. I mean, in terms of making it where you don't slide up and miss up, it's very much a driver's racetrack. And it's been proven so far that one mistake by a driver can be absolutely catastrophic in the midst of this field. I will say, Blake Ray, he's been able to slice through the traffic so far to get himself back in the top 10. He's coming. He's gaining a couple spots every restart so far.
He is the highest runner of those who pitted, as he's been able, to your point, get his way all the way up to the number 8 position. Next highest runner who took 4 fresh tires last time down pit road would have been Sean Conklin. He's running right behind Malik in the number 9 spot. So they will be on different rows for the restart, but Remember, they were 12th and 13th, so they are moving their way up through the field. So those fresh tires are doing good. And, of course, I mentioned already, Conklin wants to go back-to-back. He won the Fall Bowl at Texas Motor Speedway. He wants to be the first driver to win back-to-back races in the Omega Cup since Vicente Salas did it in 2021. Green flag back in the air. Novak again leads to turn number 1. But how about Briar LaPrade on the inside? Makes a move for P2.
Great restart for LaPrade, to say the very least right now. We'll see if he's going to be able to try and make things work to get alongside Novak. Just at this point, just trying to play the line game. Right now, Novak knows you give up the inside, it's more likely than not that you'll end up going backwards right now and lose that sense of control. LaPrade seems to be amongst those, trying that second groove up to the dotted lines, trying to get the diamond down at least, trying to get the corner ramp down to try and build up some momentum.
There's a live look on board of Zach Novak. You see him in the sim rig, and you can look off of the back of his number 5 Chevrolet as well, as he is being hunted down by Briar LaPrade and company. Keister on the bottom tries to get in the way, can't do it. Caution flag for some trouble behind the leaders. It's in turn number 2. Zach Miller just now getting righted. That U.S. Army machine, and you can see some of the other cars as well now blending to back up. So race control tried to let that go, but eventually the race leaders were quickly approaching. That looks like it started even earlier with the 6 machine of Hennegaard.
Yeah, I think absolutely it was Hennegaard, because he was there for a good few seconds there. The tough thing is when you have some of this have a spin like Hennegaard at the moment, is you have to let drivers go. Keep an eye on this, because he gets poked 3 wide. He's going backwards, has a dive, not expecting a dive to the inside to make it middle from the 3 wide, sends him on the slide, tries to lock it down, wait for the traffic to go. Then there's someone on the outside, unfortunately, gets tunnel vision, locks up. That's Miller, who ends up seeing him go straight into the door. And at that point, that's when the caution comes out. At that point, nowhere for Miller to go. And all you can say is tunnel vision started to form up when you have a car like that stopped in your peripheral.
Well, I think that ties into 2 conversations we've had so far tonight, JP. One of them being, we saw some of those triple monitor setups during the warm-up. That added peripheral vision, if you have those, could help you see something up the road where a single monitor wouldn't. The second part of that is, in almost every other form of racing on the sim, if there was a car sitting parked in the racetrack, the caution would have already been out, right? So as a driver, unless you've got a live spotter actively looking a corner of ahead, you really don't have that natural instinct of being careful to look for a stopped car, because again, race control wanted to let that go to keep it green. But if you're that car coming flying through, you have no indicator that there's going to be a car there. There's no, corner worker waving a sector yellow flag going into turn 1. So it is a tricky spot when you're that next car arriving on the scene.
Yeah, and that visibility in the midst of the corner, it can be challenging at a track like this where you're just turning, all of a sudden, boom, a race car there. But coming up to a restart, we're already nearly at the halfway point. That's how quick this was gone.
45 down, 55 to go this time by. Zach Novak has now led more laps than anybody else tonight. Can the 5 continue on his groove? We're back underway. No challenge from row number 2. Novak defends for the lead. Briar LaPrade tucks in second. Battle's going to be for third. Keister tries to slide up on Garza. Not clear, though. Conrath has got a front row seat of it all from P5.
Don't sleep on Garza. He's one of the drivers I talked about good in the officials when it comes to driving. He's one of EPI's top contenders for the championships, in fact, when it comes to the A Open SOF scene. He is very consistent on long run in particular. But here's the thing. That 7 of Malik Ray is flying. Those of the fresh tires are flying through this pack.
They are on the move. Big slide up the hill. That's Sedana. Conrath. He'll lose a couple of spots. Try to get in line. Look at him working the wheel off of turn number 2. Still trying to hang on to that race car. Does he go all the way around? Out in no man's land. Catches the car. Hits the fence. Do we stay green? No, there is a caution.
And Logan Clampett cannot buy a break. He was one of the drivers just spun around yet again after some more contact, the checkup with Hayden Swank and company. Clampett just cannot buy a break in his home state track.
And thought that Conrath was going to be able to get away with that one. We were on board with him. We saw the issue in 1 and 2. He went way up the hill into the marbles. I mentioned earlier, yeah, the racetrack's wide, but you don't want to be 2-3 lanes up into the dirty stuff right up there where you don't see that darkened part of the racetrack where all the rubber is. Thought he got it figured out right here down the back straightaway and then gets a little bit of help going into the corner. 17 gets into him. They both get sideways. And then as we saw him get into the fence, it was up the road where the spin actually happened with Clampett. To your point, can't catch a break. He goes all the way around, gets tagged by the 11 at Corey Moore, and then more cars spin in further up the road. That looks like the 4-5 machine around of Alex Jones.
Yeah, I think Matt M. Johnson was that 17 car that slowed up significantly at the start of the replay clip too, was just started to over-rotate trying to avoid Conrath, almost got loose following Conrath for a minute. Some of these other drivers you can see just trying to pick a line, squeeze on through, and it becomes a ping-pong effect down the front straightaway for some drivers. Just hard contact, nothing you can do when you have a hit like that one and where you have cars just stacking up where no place to go like Jones just had.
It does take us past the halfway point in this Winter Bowl. Take this chance to remind you if you want to sign up and participate in upcoming eRacing Association events and be one of the drivers in the field competing for a purse of $5,000 and more. It's not just on the iRacing service. They've expanded into other disciplines as well. You can find all of that information at eragaming.gg. That's eragaming.gg. Head there for more information. You can become an ERA member. You can participate in these iRacing special events. You can compete for prizes. And again, it is not just restricted to the iRacing service. They have other racing titles, things for younger fans and audiences as well. So make sure to head over there and you can stay in the loop. We've been doing this Omega Cup for some time. I mentioned it was Parker Retzlaff who won the inaugural event back in the Winter Bowl of 2020 at the Nashville Fairgrounds. So hard to believe that we're coming up on 4 years of e-racing competition and tens of thousands of dollars in prizes. Tell me if you heard this before. It's Novak in control. He's been pretty good so far tonight. That may be, though, the best restart LaPrade has had from the outside. 88 stays even to turn 1. Eventually, Novak, though, gets him into the corner.
Yeah, the top two able to break away pretty quickly, but for how long? Jacob Snyder, he's amongst those on the move. Remember, Texas, he was amongst those that looked very strong for a chance to try and win that race. At this point, he's just following the choo-choo train. Well, caution flag again. There's a big stack up at turn 1.
4 different wrecks in turn number 1. I thought I spotted it on the front stretch. Then I spotted one in turn 1. Then I spotted this one in turn 2. So it was a big mess. And I think there's a couple of factors at play, Justin, right? One of them is, yes, you got drivers with different tires in the midfield and, you know, the closing rates and people going 3 wide is a part of it. The other half of it is we're past halfway, right? Drivers are going to get aggressive. They're going to get frustrated. Ironically enough, the more yellows we have, the more aggressive they're going to get because they continue to burn laps. Let's see what happens.
Paul Bergoli, I think, got involved in one of these. Yeah, big bobble. Matt Johnson got loose again, and then Matt Johnson becomes a wrecking ball down the straightaway. Paul Bergoli fights with it after the hard contact. Johnson went spinning and bounced off drivers in 3 different places. Hold the brakes is the key emphasis in the current terms of 17. But again, all of that triggered from 2 loose corner exits snapping across. This is a car where if it snaps around on you, it's hard to regain control, and we're seeing that already.
And we've seen a couple drivers get loose, and they haven't really had that slide and catch like you may used to be seeing them be able to do in some other stock cars on the service. That thing really wasn't that sideways, and once he tried to counter steer into it, it snapped up into the hill, and to your point, he was kind of a bowling ball at that point, bouncing off of cars and off of the fence. And That's what you expect, right? I mean, you get the long green flag stretch early, you get a quarter of the way through the race. Really anything near halfway and on, it's just going to be so difficult to get anybody in the midfield to kind of work together. It is worth noting there's been a couple other strategies tonight, right? We mentioned the fact that Malik Ray pitted on the first yellow. He's up to third now. He's got about 25 lap better tires than Zach Novak and Briar LaPrade. There are cars, though, with even newer tires in the midfield. Joseph Galata's got 20 lap old tires. That's about 10 better than Malik's. He's in 14th. Kwame Scott, Garrett Maines have got 15 lap old tires. They're 16th and 17th. That's 15 laps and change better than Malik Ray's. So there are other kind of sub strategies, but I just wonder with Novak and LaPrade 1 and 2, they haven't pitted yet tonight. Neither has Keister, neither has Garza. Is it almost too late to pit now with the laps winding away? We'll see as that 5 car is getting set to try to nail another restart.
Yeah, at this point, it might be bet made unless we get a long green flag run here at this point. We'll have to see what Ray can do here, though, on the fresher tires on the restart.
It's a healthy jump for the 5. Inside's going to be the place to be, and it'll allow him to get around the 88 of LaPrade. So 1, 2, 3, single file. Novak, LaPrade, and Ray. Look at Adam Garza working the wheel on the outside. That car up and into the nasty stuff. The 8 car bleeding positions off of turn number 4 as he drops all the way down to P15.
Yeah, that is not what he wanted whatsoever. He is still fighting with the car. Those tires are overheated a little bit, and everyone's just uprooting him. He was amongst the drivers staying out of the old rubber. Some of those on the fresh tires now have found their way back up to the front. A lot of those big names, at this point, that's the risk and the strategy is if you don't maintain track position, well, you're in a bit of trouble once you get to this point where you get a long enough run. Those on the new tires can move ahead like Ray just did for second.
Maybe a bit of a touch between Malik Ray and Briar LaPrade for the battle in P2, but it does get the 7 car through. So Malik Ray on the fresh tires has been charging through the field. He's avoided the mid-race chaos. Here comes the 81 of Jacob Schneider, who's on the same tire strategy as Malik Ray. Schneider, though, can't clear LaPrade just yet. LaPrade trying to make the older tires work topside. That thing's getting loose, though, on corner exit. And the longer this battle for third goes on, the harder it's going to be for that 81 to get up there. There's contact there. LaPrade gets hit by Busa. 3 wide. Big wreck into the outside. Briar LaPrade going to wad him up into turn 1. And one of the best cars in this race junked at lap 65.
Radio definitely lighting up after that contact. At that point, Busa just licked the stamp and washed up the racetrack just into the side of the Prad. At this point, it is stay up front, but keep it clean as best as you can. At this point, a lot of these drivers, as you said, are not afraid to be aggressive on corner entry and not afraid to push the envelope to get ahead of this point.
Watching to see, is it bed made for the likes of Novak and others? LaPrade obviously damaged, doesn't get much of a choice. I just don't think you're at the point where you have enough time to come down, get tires, get back out there. Keister, Garza would have been the only other cars that had yet to come down pit road at all tonight. They are also down pit road this time. That leaves Zach Novak and Zach Novak only as the driver who has not pitted at any point in this race. And with this pace we saw out of Malik Ray and Schneider, I mean, obviously you see the black smoke coming out of LaPrade's car on the replay there. He had to come in anyways. But with the pace we saw out of Ray and Schneider, especially in that last restart, Justin, I don't really know what, if anything, Zach Novak can pull out of his bag of tricks to try to hold on to the race lead for the final 30 laps.
We'll say he has been someone who's been trying to run a lot of the trucks during the off-season so far, for example, and our vehicles, just trying to make sure he learns the tire saving. He's talked about it a little bit in some of the SOF broadcasts that have happened throughout the year, including here on the iRacing social media platforms as well. But I will say, for Novak, I think it's going to be essentially, if there's enough laps, Ray's going to have a chance to be able to try and pounce for this race lead. That's the key mantra. It's similar to what we've seen at tracks like Texas too. You have enough laps, you can make the pass. If it's caution, precaution, 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 then it's going to benefit Novak because there's less opportunity for Ray to use the tire advantage to make the pass. So the cautions are pointing to his hand perfectly.
And we'll see if all of those circumstances can fall his way before this thing is said and done. 31 laps to go. The 5 goes way early this time and pads a 3-car length lead to turn number 1. Malik Ray turns down the hill, gets in front of Schneider. Schneider moves him up the hill now. Those cars on fresh tires. So is the 54, I should say, to the outside of the racetrack of Sean Conklin. Here comes Parker Retzlaff. That 31 car was wrecked in the opening yellow of this race. He's now back inside the top 5.
Alpha Prime Racing's newest driver announced today, going to be running with them in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as of today in the number 4 car. He has been a man on a mission. He said in the sim himself, his mantra was, I hate the car in front of me as hard as I can. He's been just trying to pick off each of those cars one by one as fast and efficiently as he can. And we are seeing what we know Retzlaff can do on the sim. Be consistent once he dials in and push ahead. Another caution.
Caution will fly. That'll buy more time for Zach Novak. That's a win, I think, if you're in the corner of the 5 car at this point in the race, because it'll take another 4 or so laps out of this race. The trouble was in turn number 3, and it was Briar LaPrade again. So from bad to worse for the 88 machine, and LaPrade going to park that car. His night is done after he was assisted around. It was a battle for 19th and 18th on track. That's Trevor Asradoth, top side of the racetrack. And as they come off the corner, I think Briar was hoping or assuming that car would maybe be a touch higher up the road. Briar didn't give him a ton of space, but again, I think thought he'd be higher. Gets turned around. And again, he had just used his quick repairs, so that thing took a heavy front hit. His night basically done, and he's decided to park it.
I think the argument's quite simple that LaPrade would make is track to the wall on the corner exit. And in that case, you're right. That 89 machine did not track to the wall at all until the contact was made, and that's going to be a sticking point, I think, for the 88 machine. But at this point, we talked about being able to have the faster pair in hand in case those things happen. Right now, we're seeing a lot of those faster pairs starting to get burned for some of these drivers.
And I mentioned that I think these yellows help Zach Novak. There was a point in time midway through the race where I think the yellows hurt him, right? Because he had a physical distance between himself and Malik Ray and the others in midfield. You know, they were making passes, but they were still X amount of seconds behind him. The yellows allowed them to catch him. Now I think it's the opposite. I think these yellows, Justin, helping him at this point. And you can see he's obviously going over the numbers, having a discussion with somebody on the team radio there. But every time he gets a yellow, that takes 4 laps out of this thing. That not only means that that's 4 laps where Malik Ray can't try to pass him, but if he continues to get really good restarts, you kind of reset with an advantage, right? If we kept going green, that gap would get chipped away on. So Zach Novak, I think, would love if this race continues at the pace it has for the last 40 or so laps, and that is get a good restart, give me 4 or 5 laps, give me another yellow, and that could end with him in victory lane.
I think that's exactly what we're seeing a bit with Texas, too, because that was kind of Conklin's roll of the dice, too, on strategy, if I remember correctly, right? So it was hoping cautious precautions, and in that case, we had cautious precautions been at Texas, and it worked out for him. At this point, Ray needs it to go green 10, 15-ish laps, get something going. Problem is, he's not getting laps. Great restart by Conklin.
It's a good one. The 54 going to get right around Malik Ray for P2 and set his sights on the race leader. Sean Conklin hasn't led a lap tonight. Can he go for the race win? Malik gives him a shot in the bumper, and the 7 missed turn number 3. Malik Ray loses 4, now 5 spots. Conklin now the betting favorite. He's P2, but Schneider tries to get to the inside.
And if there was anybody in this field that can have a chance at a repeat, it'd be Conklin, because he's also one of the drivers that the Ryko camp has really put a lot of confidence in over the past couple of years with what he's been able to do for them, especially when it comes to speed in the officials. Others like Retzlaff, they are back on that move as well. This is now exactly what Novak did not want to deal with. Well, never mind, caution.
Timing of the caution benefits him again, because Conklin was getting set to put a move on him, and it's trouble in turn number 2. I believe it was Kyle Vallejos who was around in the number 13 Chevrolet. And again, with the leaders coming into turn number 1, that margin for error smaller. Race control gave it a beat, decided they need to throw the yellow, and it'll slow things down again. That plays into the Novak camp. We'll wind it back and take a look. It was a battle for 20th and 21st spot, and I don't think this one can be blamed on 3 wide or tires. I think this was just a missed corner. Check it out going into the turn. At 13, machine turns in, and the 31 on the bottom never really did Aaron Mack. Maybe just a touch late onto the brakes. He went up. The 13 was coming down, and unfortunately that sent Vallejos for a spin.
Pretty clear that Mack was intending to go to the middle line, towards that above the first dash marks. That's why he didn't turn down there. And Vallejos obviously not expecting him to be squeezed out up the racetrack, turn on down, right? So that is a tough break in terms of the position there, in terms of the line choice. But talking about Conklin and Retzlaff, great opportunities here. Conklin seems like he is dialed on in. It's just going to be another question. Is there going to be enough time for him to make the pass cleanly without having to use the bumper? Retzlaff, he might have to get a little bit aggressive if he's going to try and pass 2 cars here.
And Retzlaff may find himself in a good spot. Conklin was 3rd on the last restart. That put him inside of row 2 and allowed him to leapfrog Malik Ray. So maybe Parker Retzlaff, if he can follow the 5 through, can do the same thing. Basically get a better jump than Conklin, even though Conklin is a row ahead of him. Get under the 54, try to pass him that way. We have seen kind of historically on the service, it's very difficult to be the car on the outside of the front row to gauge what that car inside of you is doing. You're kind of looking through the A-pillar. You're trying to figure out when he fires off. That car in 3rd, who's lined up directly behind the control car, has a much better opportunity to nail that restart. And let's see if Parker Retzlaff can try to get a jump on Conklin in the battle for P2 here. Green flag back in the air. It's a good start for Novak, and here comes Retzlaff to the inside for P2.
Got the diamond down, but Conklin still got more momentum for the high side to be able to try and pull back to 2nd. Now it's going to become the question. Can Conklin find a way to get back alongside? Retzlaff is not making it easy for Conklin to do anything.
They are locked nose to nose in a battle for 2nd, leaning on each other. That time into turn 1. The more aggressive these cars get, the further away that 5 of Zach Novak wants to run. Look at now, the 31 of Retzlaff, a full lane up off the bottom, crowding the 54 car. 14 laps to go in Bakersfield. Still more contact into the turn. I can't give an advantage to either of them. And look at the view that Joseph Galata's got from P4.
How about his recovery from earlier on? He was in the heart of the hornet's nest, involved in some of the incidents. In fact, he's right in the thick of things, into the prize pool, if he's able to stay consistent. Conklin just got alongside Novak, though.
To the outside, we haven't seen many drivers make a pass for position up top, but the better tires for him. Novak gets into him sideways. 5 car catches it. 3 wide for 3rd. Look at the move by Galata, and Novak spins off of turn number 2, booses into the outside wall. Caution is out. And Zach Novak's hopes of a Winter Bowl win will come to an end with a spin in turn number 2 as Sean Conklin, new race leader for the first time all night.
That was a massive save, first of all, for Novak in the first place. He just about snapped it around 2-3 different ways down the front straightaway. The big difference in all that was Galata, he was committed to the dive. Absolutely committed to the dive, I think, in that one, Evan, with how deep he set into the corner, but also how much momentum he was carrying in the first place. And that just sparked a cascade of incidents all throughout 1 and 2.
You know it's go time, and that big move as well from Galata 3 wide. It was kind of the nail in the coffin for Novak. I mean, you see the 5 slow, you got to go for it. He tried to basically clear both of them into the corner, couldn't do it, and then Novak, again, a lazy spin. He doesn't get a big hit in this at all, really, but you saw Boosin nail the fence, and then right there, that's a pretty healthy one. Again, the yellow's not out there at that point. Otherwise, cars would already be slowing down, but because it's manual cautions trying to let things go, means that there's cars arriving on that scene where if you don't have a live spotter, you don't know what's going on in front of you. And now it's a fair fight. There is no this or that. The only exception being Galata. I mentioned there were tiers of strategies, and now that Novak, the only car who hadn't pitted all race, is gone, we can look down at tiers 2 and 3 on strategy. Justin, Conklin, Retzlaff, and Schneider, they've all got the same tires. They're 66 laps old. They all pitted on the first yellow of this race. Galata, though, in 4th, has got 10 lap better tires than them. Garrett Maines, P6, has got almost 20 lap better tires than them. And Casters are better by 40. He's in P7. So where one door closes, another opens.
I think for some of the drivers like Maines and Keister and that, though, they're going to need the C's to part almost when it comes to some of these positions if they want a shot from row 3, row 4 at this point. We're under 10 laps to go. You're not passing 5-6 cars in less than 10 laps on a short track. This battle up front is going to be intriguing, though, with Retzlaff from this outside. What does he do with Conklin trying to go back-to-back?
Going to be 7 laps away from Conklin to being the first driver to go back-to-back in an Omega Cup race in 3 years. Green flag in the air. It's a good jump for him. Schneider tried to get under Retzlaff. Couldn't get the track position. First, second, and third on even tires. And look at Parker Retzlaff. Going to be full-time Xfinity racing again in 2025. But he wants to win this race here tonight. He's on the bumper, the race leader, looking to the inside.
Trying to lean up a little bit, try and force Conklin up the racetrack. Retzlaff getting just a touch loose once again.
Catches the car. Schneider sees it opening, the 81 car down to the inside of Retzlaff for P2. Conklin has breathing room. Make it 4 car lengths of an advantage with 5 laps to go at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. He pulls an advantage. It grows a little bit off of 2, but as Retzlaff shakes off the challenge from Schneider, he's now got a straight-up opportunity to try to reel in the 54.
He's running out of time. He's running out of laps to do so, though. He needs to pick up an extra car length or 2 and fast. That's going to be very difficult with how much these cars are dead even up front.
Keeping a half eye on the midfield. Does a caution change the complexion of this race? Retzlaff giving it everything he can and then some. May have overdriven the exit at turn 4 that time. The gap is 3/10. It's Conklin 1, Retzlaff 2, Schneider in 3rd. Payouts to the top 5, but only the winner gets $4,000 coming to 2 laps to go.
Closed up half a car length. He's not close enough for a bump and run situation cleanly. He's not close enough to try and build up the run. Retzlaff just cannot get the cut down to be able to rotate off corner exit to close up like he needs to.
Need a bit of ground there. It's into a car length. White flag in the air. Final time around. Retzlaff, the gap now down to half a second. Is it going to be Conklin's second in a row, or is it going to be Retzlaff's first? To the bumper. Contact in turn 3. Retzlaff moves him up the hill. Side by side to the start-finish line. And Parker Retzlaff, bump and run, is an Omega Cup Winter Bowl winner in Bakersfield.
About that, Retzlaff using the experience once again to get the job done. He needed to close up that distance I mentioned to get to bump and run distance. And well, he definitely bumped and ran Conklin up to that second and third groove. Like I was talking about, trying to push him up the track before that time, he got the job done.
And the difference between first and second place, a cool $3,500. You knew that the aggression was going to be there. And let me tell you, it was a hell of a bump and run. But it was a bump and run, right? Didn't get him on the corner panel, didn't clean him out, hit him square, and then they both had a chance at it off of the corner. Let's watch it again.
Yeah, went square to the bumper, just nudges him up the racetrack, gets him just where he wants him. Enough where he's pushed up into that third groove where we've seen so many people lose time. And even with the bump in a bane by Conklin up to the door side to try and slow down the momentum, Retzlaff just has that much momentum for the corner exit, more speed. A look again, went a little bit deeper, pushed him up, bump, up out of the groove, up out of the preferred line for that outside line from most people have used, zipped onto the win.
And after he moved him, he gave him enough space to still have a lane off of the corner. Didn't just drive him into the wall, gets into him, and then leaves only a car width. On the outside, it's Conklin who initiates the contact to the stripe, but at that point, it's not a long enough run from the exit at turn number 4 to the start-finish line. And Parker Retzlaff is going to add his name to the list of race winners in the ERA Omega Cup. Let's take a look at your full race results. Retzlaff is back in victory lane for the first time since the inaugural race of the Winter Bowl back in December of 2020. He gets the win with 1 lap led on the night over Sean Conklin, who finishes in second, Jacob Schneider in third, Joseph Galata fourth, and Garrett Maines in fifth. Those 5 will walk away with $4,000, $500, $200, $150, and $100 respectively as they walk away in the money. That means Colin Keister, the first man out of the prize money, or pole sitter, comes home P6. Michael Guest finished in 7th, Kwame Scott in 8th, Austin Edwards 9th, and Cody Harris in P10.
Hayden Swank ended up finishing off at 11th. Blake Ray, after he slipped out of the groove, went back to 12th. Adam Garza, after his slip out of said groove, went back to the 13th position. Logan Clampett, after all the hits today, still held on to 14th. Then Sventa still in 15th. Chris Wetz 23rd, 16th. How about near dead last for Aaron Smith II? He still came up to 17th from the 39th starting spot. Paul Bergoli got stuck in the back much of the day. He finished off 18th. Zach Novak, from what happened to him, finished all the way back in 19th. Corey Moore back in the 20th position.
A couple of cars who finished on the lead lap in this race all the way through 27th position will include Andrew Hennigar, Trevor Aspadath, Aaron Mack, Julian Ritchie, Zach Miller, Alex Jones, and Jake Ballmain. 1 lap down in 28th was Kyle Vallejos. 2 laps down in 29th was Cole Larson. And 4 laps down in 30th was Evgeny Mazganov.
Way back there, yeah, Michael Hensley, early caution flags, 4 laps down, Jason Schilling. Matt Busa finishes 12 laps down after contact. Also, Alex Coffey in the Dig Esports machine, 34th. Then John Smith, Matt Johnson, involved in a couple incidents. Cameron McHone, should say, with Brian LaPrade, Garrett Conrath, JD Larson finished as the last driver in the running order tonight.
Look top to bottom at your full race results, where Parker Retzlaff ends up victorious and captures the 2nd race win of his ERA Omega Cup career. And I think we are with him now. Parker, you get a copy?
Don't think we do.
Sure if we've got him quite yet. I see working on some microphones, so we'll see if we've got him. Parker, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. I was struggling.
No worries. Hey, probably celebrating a little bit. Congratulations, man, on that win. 1 lap led. You only had to do one of them. It was the final lap. Tell us about the final lap, but kind of leading up to that, right? You guys started in a good position, wrecked out, and we thought, hey, it's a 100-lap sprint race. You guys might have been done for, but you marched all the way back through to be in position to make a move like that.
Yeah, so I started 5th there, and I think it was lap 5 or 6. I was going to try and pass for 2nd, and I think Colin got loose off the wall and kind of spun me. So I spun to the infield. I was 38th with no yellow, so I was like, all right, it's really early. So I just tried to do everything I could. I got to, I think, 30th before the yellow came out, and I put right sides on it. So I thought what I thought was the newest tires through the field. So I kind of felt like I was in a good spot there with like 60 to go. I was talking to Logan Clampett, and I said I kind of didn't want to get the lead too early because I already had taken tires, and I didn't want to be the person that had to make that decision. So when we kept having those yellows there for a little bit, and I kind of got in a position where I knew nobody was going to pit at that point, then I just knew that I had to go for it. And Sean raced me really hard, and you know, I hope that he understands like what it's for, and you know, just what we're racing for. So no matter, you know, who it is, Sean's very good, and you know, he had a good lead on me there with 4 to go, and I just put everything I had to it. And when I got within 2 tenths, I knew I had to take a shot to try and win it for everyone who supports me.
There was a bit of history in the line for both of you guys. He was trying to become the first driver to win back-to-back events in this league since Vicente did it back in 2021. You were looking to get back to victory lane since you won the very first race ever in this series back in December of 2020. A lot in your life has happened since that first WinterBowl win at Nashville, but to still be able to jump on the service here and get the job done at a short track, which I know obviously is what you enjoy, has got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I got all my stuff done for next year to go back Xfinity racing, so it's been a very cool day, and I was just kind of waiting to close it off with this race, so it feels really good to get another win in here. And these races are so much fun. They're a little bit quick, but also just, you know, so much fun to do. There's so much competition. I mean, I came into this, really didn't think I was going to be anywhere near the front, really, but it kind of came to me. The heat races, I was really struggling. Like, it just took a little bit of more practice to try and figure out what I was doing so wrong. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the next gen on the sim, but this setup was actually better than I was expecting.
We enjoyed the action, and we appreciate you being a part of this one. Before we let you go, anybody you want to say hi and thanks to?
Yeah, I just gotta say hi to my girlfriend, first of all, who I know is watching and supports everything, and my parents and everyone who supported me through everything with iRacing, and also real life from Funkaway the last 2 years, and, you know, this upcoming year, and everything they've done for me, and just everyone who supported me.
Well, appreciate your time, Parker. Again, congratulations on 2 fronts on the race win here tonight. But again, congrats on that announcement with the folks over at Alpha Prime. We'll be watching you in 25 and hope to chat to you again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's your race winner tonight at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. It's Parker Retzlaff's second ERA Omega Cup race win of his career. Second place, the other half of the battle for the win is Sean Conklin. JP, you're with him.
Well, Sean, very close to becoming a back-to-back winner in this event. Talk us through what went through your mind as we went down to the final lap and then the bump and run from Parker.
I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'm just at a loss for words. First off, congrats to Parker. The move was pretty clean. I'm not mad about it at all. It just sucks to let it get away from you like that, but I guess it's just racing. Yeah, those last few laps, I'm not gonna lie, was very nervous, and I think I really need to work on that, because I was just looking out the windshield. I didn't look at the mirror at all until the last few, like 2 laps, so I didn't really gauge if I needed to go harder or not. I was just trying to get the car around the track and finish the race, but I guess we should have tried to calm myself down a little bit more and lock in more and go faster, try to get away. But I don't know, I definitely had a lot more in the tank there, just didn't use it, trying to be cautious and let it slip away.
Well, as mentioned, a chance for the back-to-back just coming up just shy of that. First and second is still a strong stretch. What's going through your mind knowing you've had all this momentum here in ERA competition the past couple months to be in the podium positions and be in contention for the win the past couple times now.
I'm so glad. These events are amazing. I look forward to them. I tell my whole family about them, and I know they're watching tonight, and that's another reason why I really wanted to get this win. They weren't able to watch it live last time, but I know they are this time, so shout out to them. And yeah, just glad to be up front. I mean, it's still a great race nonetheless. It's just, and I'm not disappointed about it at all. Just hard to let it get away from you like that.
Any shout-outs you'd like to give before we let you get going?
Just shout out to my family again, Ryko Performance, and Jacob, my teammate. We were working together throughout the race, and we made up some good ground after we made that pit stop, and yeah, that's about it.
Sean Conklin coming away second spot tonight, just about had the chance for victory, led 12 laps in the very end. Jacob Snyder getting the shout out there, finished off in third spot though. Evan, I believe you're standing by with him as it's a 2-3 for the Ryko machines.
It's a good showing, and they were on the same strategy there as well with the one pit stop on the opening yellow of this one. Jacob, congratulations on a podium spot. You guys are in the money tonight. Just kind of walk us through this one, because unlike Parker and Sean, who started up in the top 5, you guys didn't have to come from way back, but did start in the teens and had to make a lot of passes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the first 20 laps went kind of green and people were dropping like flies. I didn't really pass anybody. I just got like 5 or 6 free spots. And then just, I got kind of lucky there. I kept restarting on the inside line, so I'd pick up 2 or 3 spots every restart, it seemed like. And before I knew it, I was up there to, really, I didn't earn it. You know, I wasn't fast. I didn't feel near as fast as some of the guys around me. Just played it smart and didn't wreck nobody.
How big of a factor do you think the strategy call was, obviously, to make that pit stop? We saw some drivers pit later than you. They all finished behind you guys. Galata, Mains, those guys. Some drivers didn't pit at all. They didn't make it to the end of the race. Was the plan kind of obvious when that yellow comes out at quarter distance that you guys are coming in? Because it ended up being that everybody who pitted at that time ends up in the top spots.
Yeah, well, I mean, we went like 25 laps green, and then we never went more than like 5 laps green again, so I think we really never got the tires that hot again. So those guys that pitted just didn't have the advantage that we had in order to pass people. It's really hard to pass. I mean, just everybody in there in the top 10 were quick, and it's just a hard track to pass that. We're all in a fixed setup, so you're going to have a major tire advantage to make up spots.
I know it's kind of the end cap of the year here with this event, and able to walk away with some money, I know, is always a nice thing on top of it. What can we look forward to seeing you doing on the sim here in 25?
Not real sure. Just gonna have fun with it. No real solid plans. Just try to have fun, and I'll come back and do ERA again next year.
Looking forward to it. Looking at our previous spring bowls, those tend to come around in late February. So we're looking forward to maybe catching you on the entry list for that one. Jacob, anybody want to give a shout out to while we got you?
Just my boys at Ryko and my wife Bailey for letting me do this every night and waste all my time and stay out of her hair.
Walking away with a bit to show for it here tonight on the P3 finish, Jacob. Again, we appreciate your time. Congrats.
Thank you.
It's your third place finisher tonight, Jacob Schneider. Big thanks to him, Parker Retzlaff, Sean Conklin for giving us some time. And we've seen some exciting finishes. I was kind of in the same boat there as Parker, 4 to go, man. Sean had quite the gap, but he was able to close him in and a good old-fashioned short track finish with a lot of money on the line. I don't know what else, JP, we could ask for.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that Parker was going to be able to close that gap at about that 6 to go mark, let alone, because it seemed like he was struggling to sort of bounce off the walls, and then on the sudden, the line just started working at the right time. He left just enough time to be able to get there 1 lap sooner in terms of the race finish. I don't think Retzlaff gets a chance to make that move, and we end up seeing Conklin take the race win. But again, it shows where having this track dialed in is such an importance, to be able to be comfortable with it. It's a driver's racetrack with this type of car, and in the end, the best drivers ran up to the front, and in the end, the best consistent run in the end got the chance to make the move for the checkered flag.
And I was just looking, because you heard the comments post-race from Sean Conklin. I'm looking at the lap times. Thought maybe, Sean got a little bit nervous looking in the mirror, right? Might have missed his marks a little bit. Not the case by the lap times that I'm looking at. Parker Retzlaff put down a couple of 18.4s and 18.50 late in the mix. Those were the fastest lap times that he put in the final 40 laps of this race, or in the final 5. So I don't know if Sean Conklin's got a lot to hang his head about, because he didn't really leave the door open. His lap times were good. Parker just somehow found something extra. And again, I think some drivers may like it, others may not like the bump and run, but when there's the $3,500 difference between first and second, I think that's about as clean as I would expect to see it. And it's going to be tough for Sean Conklin to swallow, but he's won this before, right? It's not like he hasn't tasted that victory lane experience before. And now that we've bookended 4 full seasons of racing with this ERA Omega Cup, the tens of thousands of dollars that have been given away. Excited to see what's next as we look to see these events continue in 25, Justin. I can't imagine what other track car combos we'll see coming up, and excited to continue to see these events bring the top talent out to participate in them.
I can't wait to see what happens as well, because it's been a pleasure to see ERA and the Omega Cup thrive with how much talent has recognized the significance of winning an event like this. It's a pressure-filled environment, yes, but it feels so good if you're amongst those who take the checker flag, and that's why so many of these top drivers return event after event to see if they can etch their name into history of the Omega Cup.
If it didn't matter, we wouldn't have the big names, and nobody would be bumping and running somebody out of the way for a win if it didn't matter something. So the fact that these events mean something to these drivers, that there are real stakes on the line, real money up for grabs, is what has made this ERA Omega Cup such a success. And appreciate all of you joining us and tuning in, and we hope that we see you next time. For our friend Jesse Awuji, who wasn't able to join us tonight, I'll give one more reminder that if you want to be on track and if you want to participate in, if it's an ERA Omega Cup event here on the iRacing service, if it's something on the other platforms that they host, you can go to eragaming.gg for more information. Again, eragaming.gg. That's where you can find all your information about the upcoming ERA events. And again, hopefully in February, we'll see you when we thaw out from a cold winter and maybe do it all again for another spring bowl. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Bakersfield. On behalf of the entire team at the eRacing Association, that's Jesse, Matt, Tim, Steve, Kevin, Sean, 4 years in running of putting on one of the biggest tournaments on the service. We thank them, and we thank our sponsors for making tonight's race possible: SELE Productions, Notable Live, and the Redless Group. For our entire team here at Race Spot TV, our producer Hugo Louise, for myself, Evan Posoko, and Justin Prince, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and congratulations to Parker Retzlaff, who is a Winter Bowl champion. Sim Racers, welcome to the eRacing Association, where you have the chance to win $5,000 in one of the best tournaments in all of sim racing. Green flag in the air.
Are you ready to reach the next level of sim racing? The eRacing Association's epic Omega Cup Series lets you win big. Racing with ERA lets you compete for huge cash prizes, get exclusive merch, exclusive sim hardware pricing, and potentially turn your virtual dreams into reality. Feel the rush as you race door to door against sim racers just like yourself, all from the comfort of your own home.
Straight away, they're into the... Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking!
Join now to get your membership and experience all of the excitement that the eRacing Association has to offer at www.eragaming.gg.
Celebration, he hangs on.
Oh my God!